Week in Review. That's where I'm joined live in the studio with two Londoners to discuss their stories of the week. Joining me this afternoon, I have the very lovely Joelle D'Fontaine. You can get more details for At Your Beat Studio. And also joining me in the studio, I have Arj Thiruchelvam. And if you'd like more details, it's Physique, Performance Physique, isn't it? Great to have you both here, guys. Thanks for coming into the show
Thanks for having me
today. Tell me a little bit more about social media for yourself, Joelle.
Okay, so if you can find me at Joelle D'Fontaine on Instagram and also At Your Beat on Instagram as well. At Your Beat Studio.
At Your Beat Studio on Instagram. And Arj, for yourself, how do people get more details?
It's at performance_physique.
It's very simple, at performance_physique. So guys, I was telling you off air, so let's bring the conversation on air, that we've been talking today a lot about artificial intelligence, the impact it's having on artists, musicians, many very concerned around copyright. On Tuesday of this week, more than 1,000 musicians, including Cat Stevens, Kate Bush, released a silent album. They're trying to protest against changes to Britain's copyright laws that would allow AI companies to use material available online, but would not have to respect any copyright for the artist. What's your thoughts? Let's go to you first, Arj.
This is ridiculous, isn't it, Shay? I mean, we've been talking about AI over the last year. I think we've done it a couple of times on the show, different things. And I've said about how much fear I have over AI. But this is absurd. We have an industry, music, which is really, really struggling now that we've switched over to streaming platforms. And, you know, it's so expensive now to tour. I speak because my brother is a musician. He's made his living doing this kind of thing. And, you know, the PRS paycheck is very, very important. And now you say you're going to use a tool which doesn't have any creativity, doesn't encourage children to have an imagination, and also we're not going to pay for that privilege. But if you want to set anything up yourself, you know, getting a sample cleared as a musician is incredibly expensive and difficult.
Right.
Why are we letting AI companies do this?
I'm intrigued because you've just said you're so impacted, like with your brother being a musician. What's his thoughts on this as well? Do you guys have these debates and conversations?
No, have you had your PRS paycheck? Is as far as it goes.
Really?
It's really difficult because obviously the major labels are where you need to be.
Got you.
But the ratio, I think, you know, from my understanding, is then it's very difficult because you're a smaller figure in a very, very large pie. So this is very concerning.
And so what does PRS, what does that mean? It's for music employees, basically, isn't it?
It's basically your royalties that you get for your track being aired on the radio or at an event, etc., etc. So if you're a DJ, you have to get a license to play the music, and, you know, a small amount of money is collected that then goes to the artist.
What's your thoughts on this, Joelle?
Well, I think it's wild to just say that you've got no copyright law with anything, especially as I do dancing, and when we do certain things even online for a brand or something like that, they can't use the music of someone else.
That's right, yeah.
But now with this new product, they would be able to just go through this product and then get the rights and use the music, because this doesn't have to follow the same copyright laws. So they could use sounds that sound similar to these artists' music as the same without needing to do that anymore.
Exactly. You've hit the nail on the head. It's not necessarily that they're taking a sample, but it's taking inspiration or, you know, a song or a sound that does sound very similar to the original.
So you won't even need to, and sometimes you just need the backtrack, sometimes you don't even need the vocals over it. So you could get a backtrack that sounds like Britney Spears' Slave for You, that just takes out a little tiny bit of something else. And you're like, I've got it now, I don't need Britney to sing over it. That's all we need. The advert still goes ahead. But if you do it the other way around, they still get royalties from everything that's happening, like you said. And it's just wild to think that that's a good thing to do for musicians. It's going to stop them wanting to do music. It's going to stop them wanting to do so. And they're just hence why that album is coming out and the protest is happening in the first place, because they're like, now you're taking the mic, like, come on, calm down.
Calm down.
Do
you think it'll make much of a difference? I mean, look, we're talking about, as my guest earlier on, James Erskine, was saying, but Arj, do you think it'll make much of a difference?
I'd like to think so. I'd like to think so, because we've seen these kind of arguments be done by the artists themselves against certain streaming platforms, and the streaming platforms have complied. So you'd like to hope that actually we have some level of dignity and respect, really, for these creative individuals.
Let me ask you this. When you consume new music, so I'm not talking about classics, or, you know, when you're planning, for example, your epic dance, classes, they are that. I've seen them online. One day I will come, I assure you. you know, are you ever concerned, or do you ever look at a new artist and think, oh, I just like the sound? Or do you ever check to see, has the music in any way been impacted or produced perhaps even by AI?
I actually don't, which is quite funny, because even like I just assume it's been done by
a
them.
human.
Yeah, but and it's funny you say that, because James Cameron said that he's going to put on the movie of Avatar that's coming out. This hasn't been done by any AI, disclaimers, yeah, which is kind of interesting. Maybe that's something that we could actually start doing with music, because if it is done by AI, then you kind of have the feeling of like, well, where does this money go then? Is it going to go to the artist? Because I think it's the artist, and they're like, no one's going to get that money. That basically artist gets a small percentage of something. Their royalties are tiny now because they didn't do anything. It just is going to become more of a rat race for artists, like it already is now, that they're struggling to it's all streaming and stuff. My friend, he was talking about his record label contract now, and he's trying to get out of it now, because he's like, and then he's like, but I'm just going to stay for the last bit, and it's this feeling of like almost desperation of like, I just have to do it. And I had a complete different image of being in the music industry in my mind. I was like, oh, you get to be creative and free, and it's like, no, you don't now. Like, so it's that point there is really interesting. I wonder, like, I never look at that, but maybe we should start.
Do you think we're going to now like buy like any film that we go to in the cinema, or any music that we stream online, or in my case, any vinyl physical copy that I buy, it's going to be say made by a human, made by humans, or made by AI?
It's really going to get there. I actually personally think we need to take a step back with music. I've thought this a lot.
Really?
We need to go back to a bit more analog, because we have all of these new charting kind of rankings, and they're based on streaming levels.
They don't make any sense sometimes. You're just like,
exactly.
I've not heard that song, but they're like, but it's streaming everywhere. I'm like, I haven't seen it anywhere.
Exactly. You couldn't buy, so many millions of copies, could you? Back in 99 or whatever.
It's quite something, in the sense that music, whether we realise it or not, impacts our everyday lives. There'll be those of us, and I love the fact that all three of us are huge music fans, so we know the importance of music. But even, for example, if you were to say, oh, I'm a big I love watching TV shows, or a big film buff, for me, some of my favourite films ever, including most recently Dune, the soundtrack is so good, as important, and
you go looking for it when it comes out. You're like, I can't wait till that soundtrack comes out.
Totally. And whether or not, I don't know. I think this is going to be one for me as a consumer of music, whether or not I myself will look at it and think, is this made by a human or is it by AI? Will that make a difference? Yeah,
I think they do that. They do it now for like when you're on Instagram. They say the same thing. You've got to let people know this image is an AI image. So it just stands to reason that it's probably going to go in the same direction anyway.
So I thought, do you know what? This is actually a really interesting topic, because
I think she's amazing.
One story that really caught my attention this week.
My story relates to a particular TV documentary.
It's going to take away a lot of jobs.
Week in Review.
Oh, my big thanks to my guests for staying with me this afternoon for Week in Review. I thoroughly enjoy this part of the show, I must say, where we delve into stories of the week with two London guests. This afternoon, joined in the studio with Joelle D'Fontaine, who is the proprietor, the founder, key dancer himself of At Your Beat Studio. You can get more details on social media at Your Beat Studio. And also big thanks as well to Arj Thiruchelvam for staying in the studio as well. He is the founder of Performance Physique, so it's performance_physique, working with an array of athletes, especially at this period of time, because Arj, is exactly 2 months to go, isn't it, until the London Marathon?
It's exciting times. London Marathon returns 8 weeks today. We're going to be covering 26.2 miles of lots of joy, but lots of real hard work in those 2 months. I'm sure I'll be seeing you there again, Shay.
Oh, well, I don't know. I mean, I'm excited. You're a performance coach. You're a nutritionist. You know a lot to do with working with an array of athletes, Olympians as well, helping them reach their goals. So come on then, let's break it down. I guarantee there's going to be listeners that is going to perk think, oh my God, I didn't realise it's 2 months left.
Yeah, 2 months. So the 2 month mark is a really important one, because it's the stage at which, I know it's coming. I know it's really, really quite close, but there's plenty of time to make a change. It's not too late.
So it's not too late?
Not at all.
Music to my ears. If I was doing this, I'm all forever. Everything is last minute for me. So 2 months is the point where you can say, okay, hold on, stop the brakes. This is what you need to be thinking of now.
Yeah, exactly. So the easiest way to think about it is that we can start making physiological changes with our body, and basically improving our fitness with just 4 weeks, and you've got double the amount of time. So you've still got plenty of time to improve and build a little bit of a routine if you haven't got one in place.
Right.
people should really be thinking and practicing their fueling as well. You know, when we were stood at the finish line last year,
yes,
and we saw people maybe struggling over that finish line, a lot of them were probably individuals who maybe got their fueling wrong, maybe didn't take enough food and carbohydrate on board during the marathon. This is the time when you practice it. Practice it in training, get it wrong in training, and then have a great day on race day because you've done all that hard work leading up to it. So maybe starting to practice some of that fueling, making sure that you're taking some gels on board with every long run, and looking at your training week. How often are you going out for a run? Can you fit in 3 or 4 runs per week?
Okay.
And with those runs, they don't need to be hard and fast. 3 of them, 3/4 of them basically, need to be just nice and easy, something which you can stick a podcast on, stick on BBC Sounds, and just keep going. And then one of them really challenges you, really
pushes you.
Exactly that.
Now, Joel, you yourself, you're a dancer, performer, and you've got to have stamina in the type of classes that you do.
Yeah.
But I know you also like to run, don't you?
Yeah, well, I've now started because I do stuff with Nike, and they are very Nike.
What?
Yeah, I do stuff with Nike, and they are very Nike run. So I am running now. So I started. I guess I always feel like I'm not a runner because I just didn't run, and also I hated treadmills.
Yeah,
so I was
me
like,
too.
I just can't stand treadmills. I was always thinking, it doesn't go nowhere. It's like spinning. I used to be like, why would I go on a bike that doesn't go anywhere?
Exactly.
But now,
me and you are friends for life.
I was like, let me
Literally
just get on a bike and ride around somewhere. So now I see running. It's not just the running part that I think is good. It's what it does for your mentality.
So what's changed your perception? Because I think you're the perfect person to speak to ahead of London Marathon in exactly 2 months. Has it been running outside? What's changed your thoughts?
It's just it's more to do with like how it makes people feel. I witness like how people feel when they're running, and I was like, really? Like you feel this sense of freedom and this and that, and I was like, really?
Okay.
I don't get it. Yeah. And then when I actually go on the running machine, I feel like I do actually kind of like zone and be like, it's almost like, you see when you see dogs running around the park, and they just run and they just look happy. This is what I feel like people are getting, and I just didn't know that you could get it from just running and just putting music on and you're just gone into the. It's hard, and I don't run long or anything like that, but just even running itself, it feels like when I was a kid, when I just used to run,
really,
and just run and just be like, and I'm like, okay, I'm out of breath now, and there's no one. I'm not competing with anyone. Even if I'm in a dance class, I'm still kind of competing with myself in a way, like, and with other people might be in the class.
Sure.
Even though you're like, everyone's great, it's still this feeling of like, but I need to be the greatest. Yeah, well,
it's your dance studio, so I feel like you're allowed.
I still need to be really good. So when you're running though, and you're by yourself, there's just. You can stop and take a breath and then go. Like you said, you don't have to be doing these long, hard runs, whatever. So I guess that's where I see it. It's more to do with the mental aspects and how it makes people feel that I'm in that.
Does that resonate? Do you hear that from a lot of athletes as well? Then,
to be honest, I was just listening to that, and it's music to my ears. I'm so happy to hear that. Hearing people's stories about hating running and then loving running. Yeah. Or maybe you don't love it, but you enjoyed it.
Calm down.
Yeah, exactly.
It's great. And it is that sense of, I didn't think I could do this. I didn't think I was a runner.
Okay.
If you manage to put 2 steps together, you're a runner. And then you keep going and you go and you go and you go. And as soon as you've done a little bit, you are a runner. Do not classify yourself as anything other than that.
Okay.
And it's the endorphin release. It is that feel-good factor you get immediately after a run.
I'm glad you say that, because the other aspect to this is there will be those tuned into Radio London who think, well, look, I am inspired by people that take part in London Marathon. I don't know if I'd necessarily want to run a marathon, but actually, just as you've said it, putting one foot in front of the other and running might be something for me.
Yeah.
And that's the thing, isn't it? Is running is free.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, it's free. You don't have to join any gym. You don't have to, you know what I mean? You don't necessarily have to plan it. You might wake up in the morning and say, okay, I'm going to have a stretch and just go to my local park for, 30 minutes for a run.
Exactly that. One of the nicest things I actually think about running is, and we do this with some of our athletes, every now and again, we do have a lot of structure, but we embed free runs. And that is literally, you don't need your watch, you don't need to take anything with you.
Okay.
You just need to go out and have 30, 40 minutes where you just run off feel, you let your mind completely zone out, and you're just enjoying, you're remembering what it is. And for me, when I do that, or used to do that at least, it was a case of, I'm not going to plan a route. I'm just going to run and I'm going to take this turn here, I'm going to take this turn here.
Yeah.
My wife finds it hilarious because I once got lost on my own road.
And you're like, where am I? She's like, you're around the corner.
Yes.
Can you get milk while you're there?
In my defence, it was the week we moved house. But,
Yeah, you poor thing.
but I don't deserve poor thing. I was like 200 metres from home.
Okay. Oh, wow. Okay.
But it's a real impact that we all have, that when you go out, you have a sense of freedom.
So London Marathon is exactly 2 months away. And I know, Arj, like we did last year, you'll be joining us in March, won't you? Kind of every week, giving us top tips for a lot of our marathon runners.
That's right.
I'm really looking forward to that. So thank you for putting that on the agenda. Let's go to our next story then. And Joelle, this is your one around Nepo babies at Burberry's Fashion Week. What did you want to discuss around here?
Well, it's kind of like I'm playing like devil's advocate here. Yeah,
go on.
I can't help myself. Yeah, like of course, Burberry had their fashion show, which they always do, and Burberry's really about pushing like British culture and heritage and stuff like that. And they have all the usual people there, Beckhams, Jagers, and stuff like that. But now it's their children are all there as well, being like at the front row and stuff like that. They obviously didn't do anything yet, but they're there anyway. And this idea of every time it's the fashion week and it comes around, the Nepo babies get dragged on social media of like, oh my God, they don't deserve this, they don't deserve that. But I'm now saying in my mind, I'm like, okay, so the Nepo baby term is very much like targeted towards a type of person. But to be fair, is it really fair to be calling them just Nepo babies? When I think of it like this, I was growing up and my friend had a corner shop.
Okay.
And I wanted a job.
Yeah.
And I got it from the corner shop because his dad owned the corner shop.
Yeah.
Same with him. When the corner shop was gone, he now has the corner shop. It's like, is Nepo baby a real term? Is it just like a family tradition? Like, so these people, their family are doing it, that field of fashion, and now their children want to be involved in it.
Yeah.
They're there. Are they really Nepo babies, or is it just family tradition? Like,
but it's interesting that when you talk about family tradition, and you're right, like I could think of my own family, and you know, they've got family businesses and then their children take on their business. I'm thinking of a very particular uncle who's he's dealt with properties his whole life, and so now his children do the same. So I get what you're saying. You know, they've got the insider, you know, information, and so they're happy to continue the family business. But I mean, like, you even have like the Gallaghers, you have Jerry Halliwell's daughter, you have, you know, as you've already mentioned, the Jaggers. There's so many kind of young ones, if you want to call them that are at these fashion weeks, and you think, well, what about the rest of the world who would like to be front row? What's your take, Arj?
It's really hard because I've never thought of it like that,
right?
Joelle. And when you were telling me,
and I thought, actually,
like you make a really good case. One of my closest friends once said, Arj, you romanticize hard work. You feel like if something can be done in a hard and difficult way, you'd rather it be that way.
Yeah.
And I think there is an element of truth to that.
Okay.
And therefore, in my heart tells me, no, forget them. You know, I want to come from the bottom and I want to get to the top all on my own. You know, my dad came here with nothing, and then he got to. We didn't get
this
to
is
the
like
top,
that working class hustle kind of thing that we were talking about before.
Yes.
That you just want to be known, as well as that I did it this way. I didn't I didn't cut any corners. I struggled and then dropped, and then the ladder, there was like snakes always there happening. And so I see why you want to have that for you. But then these people, they don't.
See, I'm really intrigued with this because I struggle with it, because I look at the childhood that I have had, and then I now see what my daughter is being brought up on. We are worlds apart. And I mean, the amount of times I just want to stop her from things, and I'm like, no, Shay.
She's allowed.
She's allowed. And, you know, if my father were alive, he would have said, no, I'm going to spoil her more, you know, because now we can. And so it's a real struggle, I think, for a lot of, especially if you are working class, you've got work, because I think this has got to do with social class. If you're working class roots, and for whatever reason, you know, you've moved out of that, and you're now, perhaps you would be considered, let's say, middle class. Your working class roots, those values stay with you. You know what I mean? If I'm gonna have a buy one get one free deal, I'm doing that.
I'm getting it.
You know,
I'm in the yellow sticker. Oh,
even
my
if
best
I
friend.
can afford, I'm still looking for the deals. If I see that my daughter's school uniform is 20% off, I'm gonna get it now, even though she doesn't need it until September. You know, that's inbuilt in me. And I don't think you can necessarily take that away. But then, how do you kind of hold on to those working class roots and values when your children clearly are not?
And then you get stuff anyway. My thing as well was like, okay, I also see the other side. Like, the Nepo babies are that is what they are, because the reason why this certain like the fashion world and Burberry show is interesting is that they don't need to be there. Like, it's not like when you have the corner shop and everything, you kind of need it because your life has already been difficult growing up as a child as well. So now this is going to help you get somewhere else. They don't need that, really. They don't need to be at the front row of fashion show. Their mum is this person, their dad is this person. They could potentially be in any field that they want to be in, anywhere, but so they are kind of taking a space from someone who is at the bottom here trying to get to the front row without, and there's no way for them to do it. So I do see both sides.
I think you've done very well at playing devil's advocate.
I know. I feel like
Joelle,
this is a good role for
me. Nepo babies also, for anyone thinking, what is that? Nepotism is what we're talking about here, nepotism. And children of those that are, big stars and what it's like for them. If you'd like to share your thoughts, please do. I'll continue having a chat with my guests straight after APT.
Week in Review.
I don't quite know how we manage already to get to this point of the show. I can't believe we're near the last part of Week in Review. My thanks as ever to the guests. It's always a riveting conversation. Joelle D'Fontaine, who is the founder of At Your Beat Studio. You can get more details on At Your Beat Studio. And also Arj Thiruchelvam, who is a performance coach. You can get more details on Performance Physique. It's performance_physique. Thanks for staying with me, guys. Let's go to the final stories that we wanted to put onto the agenda. Interesting, this one, micro retirement. You've taken this from The Guardian, Joelle. Has Gen Z found a brilliant fix for burnout? Tell me more about this.
Well, basically micro retirement, it was coined by Timothy Ferriss in the 4-hour work week. And it's a micro retirement involves like taking multiple extended breaks off of work to make you feel like, rather than wait until the end to take the retirement. And then that is supposedly giving people this feeling of work-life balance is a lot better. Right. But my question is that a really smart way of doing stuff, or is your career path that gets chopped up basically, so you can't get the career that you wanted? Also, your finances aren't going, because they basically will work for a long period of time and then use those finances to do nothing and just retire, and then work for a long period of time and use their finances. So are you ever going to reach the milestones that we were told before to reach? Get your house, get your this, get your that. But Gen Z are not really in that same mindset. So maybe their thought process is like around, I don't really care about that stuff. So it's like, I wonder what you guys think about it.
It's an interesting one, because I think you've hit the nail on the head. Growing up, we were always told, got to get the job, got to get the house, got to secure your future, think about pensions, investments, Go. Exactly. And then, I mean, even now, like when I look at my niece and nephew, they are, they would come under the bracket of Gen Z. Their outlook is totally different. A lot of it is around what they want to do rather than aspire to have. Does that make sense? Yeah. So what they want to do now rather than aspiring to be working towards some kind of goal. Yeah. So what's your take?
I think it goes back onto the nepotism thing, doesn't it?
They can do it, that's why.
Exactly. They're afforded the opportunity to do it.
Get up at 4 a.m. and start working before you no. I find it's probably limited to certain fields, isn't it? I don't feel like every industry that we have access to, you would earn enough to get to the end of the month without doing maybe a couple of extra shifts, let alone, okay, I'm going to take 3 months off work now.
100%.
Sure.
And I do appreciate that now maybe looking at buying property is just out of reach for pretty much every Gen Z.
Over the half term, it's so interesting you say this, over the half term saw two of my nieces, both who are 17 turning 18. And I said to both of them, when I was your age, my one goal, aside from university, was trying to save money so I could buy my first property. Both of them were like, not even think about it. And I remember saying to both of them, well, why can't you at least aspire for that? Whether, perhaps it's going to take longer, and it's not going to be easy, and you may have to tap into bank of mum and dad, but you can still be working towards it. But I was really surprised that in the space of a generation, that kind of goal, if you will, of owning your own land or your own property is...
I do really wonder if that's because the landscape right now, it's just like, well, there's no chance I'm ever going to do that. So
I might as well enjoy life now.
Exactly.
And do it to that. I think it's more, my idea is how they feel is like they just want to, like you said, what they get now rather than what they're going to get in the future. They're like, now I want to go and explore this thing. I'm quite envious in a way in some aspects of it, because I wish I was more like that, because I didn't go anywhere. I didn't even leave the country until I was like 21 or something like that. And so, but they're literally going I'm going to go explore this place. I'm going to go and explore that place. I'm going to do this. And to your point, all jobs cannot do that. If you're working in the fitness industry and you think you're going away for 3 months, you're coming back with clients. I don't think so.
Yeah.
Like you're not going. Yeah, you good luck. Yeah, you've got a really good client. That's the sugar daddy. That's not a client. Yeah, so you are not getting that. Yeah, so I think to your point, these certain types of jobs can allow that type of thing, and certain career. Certain career opportunities they're not even going to have. They're not going to be a teacher that's going to travel, like just go away for 3 months. They're not going to be a doctor. But it's certain jobs that they can do, working from home type jobs where they can do it somewhere else and then they can stop. And so I think it's who you are and how you're going to be able to do it, rather than just something that everybody can do.
0800 731 2000, because it's an interesting one. We especially bringing the conversation with Gen Z, it can be a bit polarizing as well. Final story that I wanted to end on was, of course, the nominations for the Oscars.
Dun, dun, dun.
Oscars are taking place this coming Sunday, early hours of Sunday morning into Monday. Sunday evening into Monday morning. What did you want to say about the Oscars then, Arj?
Well, it's exciting, isn't it? Because we were wondering if we were going to get these nominations. They've been delayed twice because of the LA wildfires.
Yes, that's right.
I don't know about you, but I think the Oscars are always quite dramatic.
Yeah, quite dramatic.
Yeah.
There's always drama around it. It's got nothing to do with the show.
Exactly. And we've got some British representation, haven't we, this year?
Have.
So we've got Ralph Fiennes for Conclave for male actor.
Yes.
And we also have Cynthia Erivo for her actress for Wicked. Yeah. And she's obviously been in the news this week as well because she's landed the role of Jesus in Jesus Christ Superstar.
Yeah.
So there's lots and lots of stuff happening.
Yeah.
For the last year, I basically haven't been able to watch a single film all the way through.
Okay.
Because I've had a little boy.
That's
and
right.
that basically makes,
Congratulations.
thank you. But it basically means it's impossible, isn't it? I didn't realise this. I love films. So I have seen neither of these films, but we've made it an absolute must watch effectively to try and catch up. But I'm excited to see if these guys can bring home a little bit of silver. Is it silverware? It's basically
Silverware, goldware, yeah.
Silver, gold.
Yeah, it is.
Man.
It's interesting though, because the Brits are always loved, aren't they, in award seasons? You only have to look at Baby Reindeer and how well that did. At all of the award seasons, even the Golden Globes. What's your take on Oscars? Are you intrigued by it?
I used to be, but then obviously when I used to watch Oscars, I'd be like, literally when I heard it was Oscars So White, I was like, okay, I kind of switched off from that
Did
period.
you?
Yeah, because I was like, it's so true. Like, it's this one chance getting in, and even last time when Michelle Yeoh won Best Female Actress for Everywhere, Everything, All at Once, she was like, it was still kind of like, yay, like, and I'm like, it'd be good to see more of that happening. But I am interested in this one because I have seen Wicked, and I've got loads of friends that were in it as well.
Okay.
And it's really, really good. I don't think she's going to win because I don't think Wicked in itself as a movie and as an actress is much for her in that in the second part. There's more characterization for her for her character. In the first part, she's just kind of at school, so it's not really that much. But it'd be really nice if she did win because she's had a really interesting career path from being in musicals and stuff that flopped in the UK to then go to being in Colour Purple, and then now to be in this and being everybody loves her now. Sylvia is really a really like sweet person, so I would love for her to see her.
It's interesting, isn't it? Because I was saying earlier on, Ray is going to be performing at the Oscars as well.
Yeah.
We've got some proper London representation.
They love Ray as well. In America, they love
do,
don't they?
Ray.
Yeah.
They love her.
But it doesn't. I always find this, and I wonder what you both think, is some of our greatest talents, whether it is Idris Elba, Riz Ahmed, they've all had Archie Punjabi, they've all had to kind of go across the pond.
Yep.
And then us Brits have said, oh yeah, no, they are great.
But if you mentioned,
and you just referenced Cynthia Erivo.
Yeah, but if you also look at the type of people that they are, the ones that they're all people of colour. So when they go to America, there's a lot more of that demographic probably there that can
that's very
support,
true actually.
them more. So they go there, and then it's the same. Then we come up with like, oh my god, we love them. Like it's because it's like they have to be seen by somewhere else. It's like if America loves them, then we have to love them. So I think it's that kind of vibe.
That's very true. Very
it's an interesting one. I'm going to be staying up. Is anyone else staying up?
I'm always up anyway. I don't sleep.
Right. Okay. So we can message on social media to see what your thoughts are. Joelle and Arj, it's been such a pleasure having you both here. Thank you for joining me today.
Thank you so much. Pleasure.
Performance_physique and also at Your Beat Studio for social media for both Joelle and also Arj. Thanks again, guys. Thoroughly enjoyed the chat.